Hey, visionaries! You are now tuned in to the Starts with a Vision podcast, where everything you do in life starts with a vision. If your vision is clear or foggy, you are in the right place. It's time to go take what's yours, because there's a vision only you can see, and a dream only you can dream. And now, your host, Mr. Starts with a Vision.
What is going on, y'all? This is Isaiah Fowler, a.k.a. Mr. Starts with the Vision. And this episode right here, man, I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be amazing. This episode is phenomenal, okay? This episode right here is phenomenal. Today we have Shameca Tankerson on the line. Shameca is a coach, but the story of her journey, how she got here, is like, it's amazing. And just hearing her talking to her has been amazing, because she's really like, okay, she's present, but not only that, she just understands what real life is, and what it means to go through things and bounce back. And so, one of the biggest things that stuck with me is what she said just about her value. So I really want you guys to, listen to this, to enjoy this. And I know that you're going to get a lot of precious gems from it. So I'm not going to keep holding you up, but today's guest is Shameca Tankerson. What's going on, world? It is Mr. Starts with a Vision, Mr. SWAV. This is Isaiah Fowler, and I want to tell you guys something. We bring in some heat rocks. Today's guest is not only amazing, but she is somebody, we was talking before the show, and she is now doing what she's been running away from for a whole bunch of years. Is that right, Shameca?
It's definitely right. I've been running for a long time, but now I'm standing up and being accounted for.
Right. And now you seem to be just so much more happier and, energy wise, and like showing up and your presence. Because when I added you on Facebook, once again, I love Facebook because you could connect with so many good people. But when I added you, I think like I added you and then like a week later you went skydiving. And I was like, you inspired me to go skydiving. You remember that?
I remember that, but did you put that date on the calendar yet?
Nah, not yet. I'm nervous. I'm nervous. I'm working on it, man. Don't judge me, okay? Please don't judge me. But I really appreciate you doing that, because that kind of, pushed me. Because I've been telling myself I'm going to go skydiving. But when I saw you and it just looked so much fun, I was like, man, like this is kind of like how life should be. And that's why I reached out to you. But I just want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for joining the podcast and being able to tell, your interpretation of life and help whoever's listening or whoever you resonate with to, live their best self. So, when did you start as an entrepreneur?
Man, okay, so I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. So I would say 2006 is when I started as an entrepreneur, but it's been a crazy long journey of really figuring stuff out and being willing to like just step up and do what I know I'm supposed to do. So in those beginning years, there was a lot of struggle, a lot of pretending, a lot of facade, a lot of, worrying about what other people were going to think. And so, I stuck with something for a little while that just kept me struggling because I thought it was a thing that I needed to do based on other people's expectation of me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you said facade. Another word for that is facade. But you said, that really says that, you were faking something and you were figuring a lot of stuff out. And what I think is, okay, not only interesting, but important to understand is when people start a business, they think that in the first 12 months, they're going to just be magically successful. And you said you've been figuring stuff out for so long. So, what is it? What does figuring it out even mean? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, because I kind of understand that. But what do you mean when you say I was just figuring stuff out?
I think we learn by just doing. So when I look back, like this Facebook thing is kind of crazy because on Facebook, they will notify you of a post that you did 5 years ago or 6 years ago or 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And lately, some things have been popping up where I realize I've been honing this same message that I'm giving right now for a long time, for year over year over year. I didn't just wake up one day and say, okay, I want to start talking about, courage and confidence and overcoming fear and taking action in spite of fear. I've literally been doing this repetitively over and over and over again, not just in my words, but in my life. And so now it just rolls off my tongue. It's part of me. But then it was like I had to remind myself, like, you need to be courageous. You need to take courageous action. And so I think figuring it out is like allowing yourself to make mistakes. It's allowing yourself to do it, not just in your head, but in your action so that you can get the result, whether it's good or bad, and then tweak along the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's big. The tweak part right there. The tweaking part, because you make a mistake, some people stop, quit, get sad, depressed, whatever. But the winners, they make that tweak and they keep going. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I think sometimes we can be so afraid to fail that we just, put pen to paper and we're always in a constant planning stage and vision stage. And, oh my gosh, this year's going to be my year. And if we can just free ourselves from that, what are people going to think about me if I try this and it doesn't work? Or how are people going to judge me no matter what? We can let that part go and just go get this understanding that actually failing is one of the fastest learning tools. Fastest learning tools. So think about this, case in point, the Lion King movie. Do you remember when Rafiki hit Simba on top of the head with the thing? Mm-hmm. And he just kept hitting him on top of the head. And then eventually Simba ducked. He goes, you learn, right? Mm-hmm. But if he had never, he hit him, he had to feel that pain, hit. Now he understood, oh, I need to duck. And we try to avoid that a lot of times, just as human beings, period. We understand fire burns, so we don't want to go near the fire. But if you ever have gotten burned by fire, you understand how painful it is and you know not to go near it. You learn much faster. Right.
And also, like, when you're a kid, and I think kids learn the fastest. They learn faster than adults. And then as you become older, the learning curve slows down, because what happens is when you're a kid and you tell them don't touch that burner, they immediately go touch it. You know what I mean?
That's a good observation.
But when you get older, it's like not to touch it because you know exactly what's going to happen, so you don't go do that, and that kind of translates into everything else that you end up doing. Don't start that business because I know that in my mind it's not going to happen or it's not going to be successful. But that is exactly what happens because they're thinking about the burner that they touched when they were 3.
Yes.
And I think that that's so crazy. So in 2006, you started a business. What was the business?
So I was in the mortgage industry. And so if you've been around for any amount of time, you know that the mortgage industry pretty much went belly up, around 2008-ish, basically. And I lost everything. So there was no pulling back out of that. That industry left. There was no way to generate revenue for at least a good, 6 months to a year. And then all the laws came into effect that made it even harder to try to place loans with people. So I just lost everything. Mm-hmm. So here I am, riding high on the hog, the house, the car, everything that I would want. And then find myself sitting in the welfare office. Now that sucked. That was not good. And here's what I realized. I realized that I was in that position not because, and I really want people to hear this. I was in that position not because I wasn't smart enough, not because I didn't have value, not because I was lazy or any of those things, but the setback was so hard on me that my confidence was gone. So not only did I lose physical things, but really on the inside of me, I was ashamed. There was a lot of shame tied to that loss. And so what it caused me to do is pretend. I didn't want people to know that I had really lost everything. So I pretended like my business was doing great. I pretended like I wanted clients. But in reality, I didn't feel like I deserved to be paid. What if they found out? I felt like a fraud. The fraud factor was huge.
Mm-hmm. So does that make you a fraud?
No. Heck no. Here's what I know. Here's what I know now. what I thought then was that those setbacks, those failures, those disappointments, what I thought and what I believed in my spirit at that time was that all of that stuff made me a fraud. But what I recognize now, after allowing myself to really just stand in the truth of that story, is that all of those setbacks, those scars, those disappointments, those failures, they weren't my kryptonite. They were actually my superpower. It's because of going through that I know when my clients come to me and they're having problems selling or they're having problems charging more for what they do, I understand that a lot of times they have similar stories of setbacks, failures, disappointments. And just like you just talked about now, how a kid is curious and they'll go touch it anyway. But as an adult, because you already know fire burns, you won't even try. They're in that same situation. And that is what makes me powerful in what I do right now, because I have that understanding. I know that journey, and I'm able to bring people along with me through that.
And that goes back to, I guess, your word of, or your theme of your life is kind of courage. Because I've been seeing you on Facebook, and all the lives have been based around courage. Am I right?
Pretty much. I mean, here's what I know. I know that more courage is going to lead you, the courage to take steps, the courage to take actions is going to lead you to where you want to be faster than fear, holding on to fear ever will. And courage for me is, I think courage is like a muscle. You have to build it. And so you build it by doing taking small actions along the way, getting a little more courageous day by day. And so because I have big dreams, I have big goals, I have big visions, I know I have a big purpose, I test myself. So things like jumping out of a plane is just part of that process of building that muscle. Because if I can do that, then when it comes time to do, a big contract or go after a big client, I'm like, okay, you jumped out of a freaking plane. How can you not do this?
Right.
You can do this.
Right. And that's a good point. So you went skydiving not too long ago. I think it was about 2 months ago, right? Now, was that your first time you went skydiving?
Oh, heck yeah. It was definitely the first time.
So that was it. Now would you do it again?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
I remember watching this video earlier this year. It was about Will Smith. And you may have seen it, may have not. He was getting interviewed. And he was talking about skydiving and how, the second before you get pushed off or whatever, you're holding on to like the doors and stuff. And then when you're in the midair, like what happens is like you start to see how beautiful life is. And in that state of fear, like it's the most blissful experience ever. Mm-hmm. And so, I guess my question to you is like how has that skydiving experience made you forever courageous? Is it just like, okay, I jumped out of a plane so I can do anything? Or is I know it's a little bit deeper than that. Like, how do you feel now when you wake up every day knowing that I jumped out of a plane, something could have went wrong, but it didn't. I'm here and I'm about to go murder the day. Yeah.
So, if you see my skydiving video, because I did post the entire thing, you can see my face. The moments leading up to jumping out of the plane was really serene for me, because it's kind of like a moment of truth. It's you're either going to do it or you're not, right? And if you decide to do it, it can either go all well or it can go all the way wrong, right? And so just in that moment, I remember jumping out of the plane, and in the first few seconds, there was an instance of panic within me. And then there was something inside of me that said, you're in it now. Enjoy it. And then I just surrendered to the moment. And that's how I'm forever changed, is I'm surrendering to the moment every day of my life. I'm surrendering to the moment. You only have one life and you don't know when it's going to be gone. You're not promised. I'm not promised another breath.
Right.
And so how can I surrender to the moment, whether it's my goals, whether it's, how I'm enjoying my day, I'm willing to surrender to the moment.
And so how do you live in the moment? Like on a day-to-day basis, right? How do you, in your mind live in the moment and not get caught up in everything outside of you, externally, what other people are doing and all that stuff?
Man, I'm not going to even try to sit here and pretend like I got that all together, but
well, that's good.
But let me just say this. I think awareness is a beautiful word. Mm-hmm. And I think it's one of the words that I've been clinging to over, especially the past year, is just being aware of how I show up and move through life. And so there's times during my day where I recognize, are you even aware of the fact that you're breathing? And I'll just take deep breaths. For me, that's surrendering in the moment. Mm-hmm. Right now, there's a lot of stuff going on, especially when it comes to like race talk, talking about racism and all kinds of other things. And so I spend a lot of time on social media because that's where I run my business, right? So when you can get caught up in all of the negative pieces of all of those things. And so sometimes it just takes a moment to take a step back and go, how does this affect me eternally? How does this affect my life right now? And how do I want it to affect me? And so it's about decision, right? You get to choose. You have the power. Heck, you are the power always. So, if I want to be positive in my life, not just positive, but if I want to enjoy the life that I'm living, it comes down to a decision. Right. I have to decide to love it. Right. I have to decide every moment, every day. And so even when I'm feeling anxious or if I'm feeling stressed or whatever I'm feeling in the moment, angry because of something that I've seen, I get to decide how I want to feel in that moment. Right. Do I want to continue down this road or do I want to choose something different?
So would you say that you were living in the moment back in 2008?
Heck no. I thought I was a victim. Like I thought that what was happening to me had nothing to do with me. I had no choice. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so that's a good point because it's only a decision, right?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds silly, and I don't want to belittle anything that anybody might be feeling or going through right now, but I think we're taught that like hard work equals success. And if anything is worth it, it's going to be worth the pain you have to go through to get it. Mm-hmm. It really is that simple. You get to decide.
Right. You get to fold or you get to, pressure bust pipes, right? Yep. Or it makes diamonds. So you make the decision of what you want to be. Do you want to be the pipe or do you want to be the diamond?
Exactly.
All right. So when you were back in 2008, when you was riding high, talk about like the fall. Like how did you guys lose everything? And because I know it was the economy, so it really like wasn't your fault per se. But can you talk about just the process of the rising of it and then the falling of it? Because I want to illustrate for people that it's not always your fault, and you just kind of have to learn how to bounce back. However you see fit best.
Yeah. I mean, like even thinking about it right now, it still kind of stings a little bit to think about it. But I remember waking up in my house, most days thinking, I actually live here, And so I'd worked hard all my life to keep rising, and I think financial was like a big part of it. Like showing that I was successful from the outside was a huge part of who I was, which is why the fall was so hard for me. Mm-hmm. And so going from living this life where you wake up every day and things are amazing, and I never worried about money. It wasn't a big deal. Like I just trusted that more clients were going to come, more money was going to come. I never even thought twice about the fact that it might not. Right? Mm-hmm. That was just the kind of life I was living. And then all of a sudden, I wake up one day and all around me, people who I had been in, relationship with for, 6-7 years in this mortgage industry were locked out of the padlocks were on their offices. They couldn't even get their stuff. The government just came in and shut down mortgage companies one after the other. And it was a lot of emotional turmoil. And then you started to realize, oh my gosh, I'm really affected by this. I literally had clients in a pipeline that I couldn't place anywhere and was unable to create revenue. Mm-hmm. And so in hindsight, one of the things that I realized in that moment is that I had all my eggs in one basket. Mm. I wasn't diversified in my revenue streams and income. I had one way to create money and to create clients. And so, again, that's another lesson from where failure comes from, right? I learned that you need to kind of diversify where your money comes from so that if something does happen, you still have a way to create income and revenue. Right. And so, you know, when you're in that moment, it's like, okay, we have savings. And so in my mind, and at this time, my husband worked for me. So whenever I hear people saying, oh, I'm retiring my husband, I'm like, good luck with that.
Like, yeah, you need to put him on the payroll, huh?
Yeah. So my husband worked for me at the time. We worked together in our business. And then, so as everything was going away, it was like, okay, let's use our savings. And we kept thinking, okay, there's different ways. And so what happened is I started thinking, what skill sets do I have? What skill sets do I have? So most of my clients were self-employed. So I started working on, you know, doing more commercial funding. And so I would try everything, and it was working a little bit, but it wasn't consistent and large. So there was this gradual decline. It wasn't a very hard fall because we had savings and we were able to keep things afloat for a little while until it was just a done deal. Mm-hmm. And it was a struggle to try to make a few $1,000s a month. Mm.
Mm. And at that point, you know, you guys are at your lowest. Like, how do you move forward from there, and how do you kind of like break out of that? And did that like low point last a long time, maybe a couple years? Because I know some people, one person told me he really didn't do much for like a year and a half.
Yeah, that lasted quite a long time, but the rise from that has been a journey. So I'll kind of give you an idea. So from 2008 to about 2010, so 2 years or so, 2.5 years or so, that's where I was like struggling, trying to figure out everything. And, you know, I went from like trying to do commercial loans. So again, trying to fit a round peg in a square hole. I'm a financial services. People know me for this. I have to stick with it. But I wasn't bringing in enough revenue to do that. So commercial loans, I started doing a little bit of things around credit and helping people in that way, all kinds of things. And it just all came to a head at some point in time. And remember, at this point in time, I'm unhireable, right? Because when I fill out an application or when I turn in a resume, I've got multiple degrees. I've been managing these mortgage companies. And then for the past couple of years, I had been in my own business. So I worked for myself. And when they asked, what was your previous salary? It was really, really high. So no one was going to give me a job for $10 an hour. I was, quote unquote, overqualified. And so for so many years of just being embarrassed and keeping to try to struggle, we finally said, you know what? We got to get some help. And so this is where I found myself sitting in the freaking welfare office. And that was really hard for me. Because as I looked around, it felt like all eyes were on me. It felt like people were looking at me, and the people in the office tried to say, you know, you're the kind of person that this is made for. That didn't make it any better, right? Because here I was, multiple degrees, you know, had already been making multiple six figures, and now I was down to nothing, struggling to try to make ends meet. And I couldn't freaking figure out for the life of me, being as smart as I am, being as tenacious, why it wasn't working. And I thought it was about strategy. Mm-hmm. Right? I thought it was about, you know, needed to find more clients. And let's just get to the heart of the matter. Here's what I realized. I realized it wasn't about strategy. It was about me. Mm. The amount of shame that I had, the amount of going through this process. On the inside, I was like, I need clients, right? And I'm going to go do this, and this is going to be it. And I'm going for it. But on the inside of me, in my spirit, on the inside of me, I was ashamed. I thought people were going to find out.
Mm. So that's very, very, very deep. You said it wasn't working because of you and not some strategy. So can you legit say you were just the only person holding you back was just you?
I was the only person that could bring me forward. Ooh. It wasn't really about me holding me back. Uh-huh. Something had to shift on the inside of me to allow myself permission to have clients, to let people pay me, because that's what was happening. I was saying I wanted clients, but I would sabotage every step of the way because there was something inside of me fearful that would say, oh, what if I get this really great client and I mess it up? Mm-hmm,
mm-hmm. And you were saying this stuff like subconsciously.
Subconsciously, right. This is what was going on.
Right. Because like even probably before a sales call, you're like, I'm excited I got a sales call, but they ain't going to pay.
Right.
Right.
Right. Or I'm excited I got a sales call, But what if they Google me and find out I used to be in mortgages and now I'm trying to sell them whatever I was selling at the moment?
Right. Wow. Okay. So all this happens, and what's the shift in your mind or in your life when like things just kind of like flickered and the light came on and things are just, I don't want to sit here and say like things are just good, like it's magic, but you get what I'm saying. Like things just, you see that things are just looking up now.
Yeah. So, that moment when I look back at it, here's what I recognize. And this is actually what the book that I wrote is about, The Power of Permission. When I was sitting there thinking like, this sucks, I shouldn't be here, all of that stuff, something inside of me was like, this can't be the end. Like, this can't be how this goes. Mm-hmm. You got to get up and you got to fight. And so I started to try to figure out what the heck, like what is actually going on. And so I talk about the 3 permission slips that I wrote myself coming out of that experience. And I want to talk about what those are because I think it's important.
Please do.
Sometimes you don't recognize what's happening on the inside of you. We're always looking to the outside or somebody to save us. And really, we're the only ones who can. Mm-hmm. So first permission slip for me was permission to trust my value. Mm-hmm. And so I want you to think about this. Like I said, I had multiple degrees. I'd been in sales for most of my life. I was always the top salesperson in any company I ever worked for. My business was doing amazing when I had it until it wasn't, right? Mm-hmm. And so, I'd earned 6 figures before I was still in my 20s. Like most people don't do that. It's not a lot of money, right? Mm-hmm. But I'd done it in my 20s. And so trusting your value. And so this is what I had to think about. Just because I'd been dragged through the dirt and had losses, it didn't change the value that I brought to the table. Think about this. Take $100 bill. Mm-hmm. You crumble it up. How much is it worth?
Still worth $100.
Rip it a little bit. How much is it worth?
Still worth $100.
Take it, stomp on it, drag it on your feet as you walk down the street. How much is it worth?
Still worth $100.
That's the message I had to get to myself. My value did not change because of what I had been through. And in fact, it increased because what I had been through.
Right. Because you could deliver more.
Yes. Yes. So take the same $100 bill over time. When bills go out of circulation, this one that's been through so much and has been with us for so long could actually be worth more than $100, right?
Because it's like a rare one or whatever it is, like a dollar coin or something like that.
There you go.
Because those are worth more. Like people will pay more for that, or a $2 bill.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. So what's the next permission slip?
So the next permission slip is permission to own my expert status, own my own authority, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of times we look to the left or the right and we see people as ahead of us or below us, and that's how we determine whether or not we're an expert at something. And so first I want to tell a story, and I hope this anchors this in for people. So I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to let you answer. Mm-hmm. Who is the greatest boxer of all time?
That's up for speculation. And I'll answer it. Muhammad Ali, okay?
Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm. So doesn't matter what age people are, what nationality they are. When I ask that question, that is top of mind awareness. If we were playing Family Feud, that would be the number one answer.
Right.
So here's my follow-up question to that. Who said he was the greatest?
He did.
Exactly. In fact, he said, I said I was the greatest before I ever knew I was.
Right.
And so one of the things I had to get a grip on is I had to stop waiting on people to give me permission or crown me the authority or invite me to play at the table and claim my own expert status and authority. Because here's the deal. You are the only you that will ever live. No one can do what I do like I do it. Mm-hmm. And that is what makes me expert. Besides the fact that I already had skill set in that. Mm-hmm. So I really just had to let go of thinking that I needed to, arrive some way or somebody had to invite me to play on the big kids playground and really just start standing up and being accounted for.
Right. That's very, very, very good. And it's funny because I've had these kind of conversations with a lot of close friends, trusting we've had that conversation about the permission to trust their own value, because I've kind of been through that as well. And it just gets deep. It gets very, very, very deep. So like you're super spot on with that. And what's the third permission slip?
So the third one is like the kicker. I think this is where the rubber met the road for me. So remember, I was hiding in plain sight. Remember, I was like, yeah, I have a business. Look at me. But on the inside, I was like, nobody hired me because I suck as a human being. That's really what was happening subconsciously. And so the third permission slip is to actually sell more, to stop hiding. Stop hiding and sell more. You can hide in plain sight. You can be visible, but still be operating below what you're capable of. And so I just got loud and proud and vocal and started saying, I'm here. I'm here. Here's what I can do. Either you're coming along or you're not. And there's a stigmatism around selling and all of those kinds of things. There's a stigmatism about being too pushy or looking proud or, prideful or whatever the case may be. Who do you think you are? These are all the sort of conversations that were in my head that kept me having people around me who probably would have hired me, but because they didn't really know what I could do for them, or I didn't have the confidence or the certainty, or I didn't appear to have the confidence or certainty, they went and hired somebody else. So I had to enough of that. And say, hey, start being vocal and visible and making offers to people on a regular basis without worrying about the judgment, without worrying about people, the fraud factor and people finding out what it was that I, all the losses that I had. And I actually started using that as part of my story.
Right. So you legit, and you really said, so talk about hiding in plain sight, because that phrase right there, I think that phrase is deep, and I think it needs a little bit more elaboration.
Yeah. So hiding in plain sight for me is like, I'll do just enough to be able to say I did something. Right. So just enough to be able to say I'm trying, it's just not working, but not the scary things, not the things that give me pause because it's pressing against the edge of my own comfort zone, not the things that I know could make a huge difference for me because I don't want to risk loss or failure or what failure feels like, because I remember, right? It's just like the fire. You remember what it feels like when you get burned. I didn't want to feel that anymore. It was painful. So the safety net for me was just to go to networking meetings and meet a bunch of people and say, okay, well, I've been networking, right? Or to even posting on social media, just post the fact that I have a business page or a fan page on social media or a website means I'm in business. And in reality, you're not in business unless you're actually conducting business, which means you're closing sales.
Right. So, and that goes to a lot of people just want they subconsciously want an excuse. They don't want to be successful. They just say that they do, and they do this bare minimum, like you said, to say that they did it, but they don't really want it. And that's like the gap of, a higher level and just a mediocre lower level, because people are not out there.
I think I would say, I don't know if I would go as far as to say, Isaiah, that people don't want it. Because remember me, I wanted clients. I couldn't feed my kids. You can't tell me I didn't want to make money, because I did want to make money. But whatever was going on the inside of me was stronger than it superseded that desire and need to make money. That the thought that I could try again and fail or lose everything, not wanting to feel that ever again, superseded that need to have the money.
Right. So your internal conflicts were just a lot bigger than, what you wanted per se. And it was it was just stronger for some reason.
Yeah. So people can say, you know what, I want to have $1 million business. But then if in their mind, what it takes to have $1 million business means they have to give up their freedom, ignore their family, whatever the case may be, they'll never get there.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because they're in conflict, like you said.
Right. So now, you're showing up, you're here, and you're a lot more present, and, people know you more in terms of you're not hiding in plain sight. Let everybody know what exactly you do.
Yeah. So, I guess the biggest thing for me is showing my clients, mostly women, how to show up powerfully in their business, how to charge more and sell more without apologizing for it. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of that comes with being courageous.
Mm-hmm. So how does a person who may not know their worth 100% or may not be aware how powerful they really are, how do they charge more?
Let me just share this. Uh-huh. So here's what I know, that in my time of, since I've started to do this work and helping women to grow their businesses in this way, there's a pattern that I noticed. And if you're listening and you hear yourself in this pattern, awareness is the first step. So no matter how experienced they are, no matter how talented they are, when they show up to work with me, many of them are resistant to taking those big, bold action steps their businesses need to grow to the level of the vision that they have, whatever they want to do, whether it's monetary or they think they want to have a certain amount of impact. And literally, it's all because of one simple, basic, yet incredibly powerful belief. And here's what that belief is. Deep down, they don't think they're good enough. There's an enoughness issue. So they don't think they're experienced enough, credentialed enough, popular enough. It's that worthiness question, known enough. They feel like something else has to happen deep inside in order for them to go for it.
Right.
And so what I want people to understand, what I want my clients to understand, is it's not always about strategy. Your beliefs are impacting your courage, your certainty, and your confidence, and they chip away at your self-esteem and so much more when you're not aware.
So it's funny because everybody has these books, everybody has, these courses, everybody has all this stuff. But literally what you just said is it don't matter what, it's not a strategy, of course, but you just lacking some type of belief. That's literally what's stopping people from making $10 million a year is them saying I'm worth more.
Yep.
That's the $1 million, that's the $1 million nugget. You just need to believe in yourself more. You need to see yourself in a higher regard. You need to say, I am enough. I am worthy, whatever it is. If you can do that, then all these other questions and things won't even exist.
Yeah, well, okay, so let's put two parts to that. If you can do that, so you decide, I am enough, you believe you are enough, the next step in that is that your actions must align with that belief.
Right. Absolutely.
So you can't say you believe and do actions that are the opposite of that. So your actions have to align with the belief you say you have. Right.
And then once you couple those two, it's like a whole bunch of magic happens and fireworks just start blowing up everywhere and all kind of stuff happens.
An extreme amount of magic happens. It is amazing. I'm almost teary-eyed just thinking about what can be released when that comes together.
Right. So let me ask you this, Shameca. What is let's just say in the past 6 months, what's the most magical thing that you felt, in your life? And or business, whatever it may be. What was an experience or a time where you were man, you just sat there in awe because you didn't really believe that it happened and it may have made you teary-eyed or whatever?
So the last couple of months have been really interesting. So for a while, I've been looking for a coach to support me. And because I really believe in the power of community and coaching and having somebody that can look at what's going on with you from a 10,000-foot level. Because when you're in it, you don't always see what's going on, right?
Right.
And so I didn't realize how much I longed for it. I knew it was necessary. So I was on the journey. I would test out a few programs and, okay, that's not a fit. And so a few months ago, I found a fit. And so here's the magic moment. So the first thing is, when I started to engage with this coach, the investments were pretty steep. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, you're just going to do it. So 2 pieces of magic that just happened recently that just floored me, wowed me. The first thing is when I said yes and I found that space, I literally started weeping. Mm-hmm. Because I had been searching for a home for so long. Mm. And then finally there was a connection. So you would think, okay, if you're going to make a huge investment, you're either going to cry about making the investment. You're not going to cry because you're so happy that you made the investment.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so then a couple of weeks ago, my coach says, hey, everybody turn your numbers in. And I didn't really pay attention. I should have been paying closer attention, but I wasn't really paying attention. And literally I just had my biggest month ever. So I did an $80,000 month. Mm-hmm. Last month. Mm-hmm. That's magic. It's the power of taking a stand for yourself, not being afraid to make investments and then just moving through that. Here's why that's a big deal, because we've been talking about this whole journey that I've been on. Mm-hmm. Literally, when I first met my current coach, we were on the phone and she's like, okay, so let's map out $1 million business. And Shameca was like, no, I'm not trying to do $1 million business. I just want to, if I can consistently do, like 30K a month, I'd be good. That's all I want to do. So we commenced to mapping this out. And when we're done, nothing I can do about it. It literally is $1.2 million business. And I'm like, how the heck did that just happen? We weren't even trying to map out $1 million. And based on what we're going to do, that's just what it is, right? And so then we move forward, with this plan, just focusing on getting it done. And then I wake up and 30 days later, something I thought was not even really possible for me. I couldn't fathom doing 100K a month. It wasn't really part of my psyche at the moment. I'm like, I know it's possible. I have colleagues that do it. I see people that do it all the time. Many people run amazing businesses, right? Mm-hmm. But it wasn't something that was even in the forefront of my mind at that moment. And today, after doing those numbers and going, you did an $80,000 a month, it's more tangible to me than ever. That's magic.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's magic.
So did you believe that you could do it? I know you kind of did the actions, but deep down, were you like, I'm going to try, but I don't really think I'm going to really do it?
That wasn't the number we were looking for. I just went to work. Mm-hmm. And in my going to work, that's the numbers that came out of it. I think I was trying to do, let me think of the numbers. I think I was aiming for about 30,000. Mm-hmm. Actually, no, it was supposed to be a $50,000 a month is what it was supposed to be.
Okay. So you were shooting for the 50, but got the 80. So you believed that you could do more, but you just didn't know that you were going to do that much.
Exactly. Really, I was looking at the smaller numbers. It's like, okay, the program is this much investment. I'm looking for this many people. That's all I was focused on.
Right.
And so the beautiful part, and like I said, the magic in it is when you just allow, right? You decide that you want to do something. You never know what's going to show up, but in your willingness to do what it takes. That's why I'm saying your actions have to align with that belief. In your willingness to do what it takes, what your true desires are will begin to manifest.
Right. So your actions are going to help you manifest. So it's all about the actions that you put forth along with the belief, and that helps you manifest what it is that you say that you want.
Yeah, I mean, you can sit around and say, I just want $1 million to show up, but your actions have to align with that for sure. Definitely.
Right. So what is, the best advice you could give somebody who, let's say it's somebody who feels like they're a fraud? We're facing the same thing that you were facing with the value thing, right? They're valuable. They know they are. But they may be dealing with some trial, tribulations, whatever. Maybe they lost a whole bunch of money. what's the best advice you could give to this person?
Yeah, I kind of just posted about this yesterday. I was writing, like, don't let struggle become your identity. Right? Because the more you identify with the struggle, the more you keep creating struggle.
Right. Woo. That's deep right there. Don't let struggle become your identity. I like that. I just wrote that down on these notes right here. So in that, what should they do? Be more focused on the things that they want. Am I correct? Be more focused on the things that they want and they know that they're going to become and they know that they're going to get, right?
Yeah, I think the tendency is to say, hey, no more. I don't want any more of this. And so what you're actually focused on is the negative thing that you currently do have. So yeah, you can focus on the thing that you want, but I think a step even further than that is once you have the thing that you want, how will that make you feel? Who will you be? How will you behave?
Right.
And begin to be that right now. Begin to feel that way right now. And I know it sounds a little woo-woo and out there, but here's what I know that I know that I know after this journey, this 10-year, this decade of being in this valley and pulling myself out of it and really doing this work is that what you desire, again, it's not about the steps or the actions that you take. It's really not about the action. It's about who you're being inside of the action.
You saying some I like that one. Who are you being inside of the action? That's deep right there. Being inside of the action. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that one right there.
You can quote me. No, I'm just playing.
No. I'm gonna quote you. Like in the future, like on my Facebook. Like I'm gonna quote you. Seriously. But that's what's up though. That's amazing stuff right there. So where can people find out more about Shameca, what she's doing, what she got going on, how amazing she is, and more about courage and all this other good stuff?
Cool. So you can always connect with me on Facebook. That's my jam. That's where I hang out. But I want to gift everybody who's listening with something that I think is super powerful. I created a course the beginning of this year about uncovering the 6 hidden fears that are secretly crippling your confidence, limiting your income, and standing between you and your success. I call them hidden because most of the people who come across me, they are powerhouses. They are confident. They don't think this kind of stuff is part of their problem. And just like me, on the outside, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. But on the inside, there was stuff going on under the surface. And so this course helps to bring to light, it helps you discover and uncover where some of these fears might be manifesting and showing up in your business and in your life and blocking your success that you're not really aware of because they sound like very valid reasons when you talk about them. And so the way that you access this course, I'm going to gift it to you for free. It's worth $197. It comes with a video and a workbook. I'm going to take you through my simple yet powerful process that will help you win over your fears, the hidden ones and the not so hidden ones every freaking single time. Just go to bit.ly/fear stops here. bit.ly/fear stops here. Okay, it's a bit.ly link, so I have to give you some more instructions. Capitalize each one of those words. There you go.
Got you. Yeah, Billy be tripping.
Yeah.
So capital fear stops here.
Yes.
Got you.
Yes.
Got you. Well, Shameca, you lived up to the hype.
I try.
Nah, that's just you being you. You was trying to back in the day, but this is you being you. And I just want to say thank you, of course. And your time is appreciated, and even more so than that. Thank you for just sharing the truth, your truth, what you've been through and what you've overcame, because I know it's helping a lot of people out there, whoever is listening.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. I was super excited to do this interview, but I'm so glad we were able to talk about this stuff because I think it's really, really important. So thank you for doing the work that you do, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's so much deeper than just a podcast interview per se. It is about connecting with people and talking about real life, and real stuff. Like a business is a business.
Yeah.
But we need to talk about the stuff that's a lot deeper than that, and that's how we bring out the amazing stuff that's life-changing and transforming lives and minds.
Exactly.
So with that being said, everybody, that's today's episode. We're going to talk to you on another show. Thank you, Shameca. Thank you guys for listening, and we out.
Thanks for listening to the Starts with a Vision podcast. Come get your vision clear at www.startswithavision.com. See you there.